All right, peace, African family. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up part two. Earlier, I did part one, um, and like I said, this is kind of gonna be a recap of the information that I was building on a week ago that Instagram didn't allow me to save. So everyone was asking me to please do the information again because they wanted to watch the video, and the video wasn't allowed to save. So this is gonna kind of be a recap. So earlier today we did the first portion dealing with psychological vision and everything like that, and right now we are going to do the final part of this. Let me know if y'all can hear me. By the way, I always want to make sure my sound is crisp and clear. Okay. So first and foremost, we're going to deal with the European, right? Because a lot of us, we don't understand that before we can become African, before we can truly accept our African identity and move throughout this world effectively as Africans, we first must study European culture, right? We first must understand who the European is. Before you understand who you are as an African, you first must understand who the European is. And once you understand who the European is, then you are able to understand who you are as an African and then reject everything that's European. You get what I'm saying? So you can't be an African until you first understand European culture, and then you're able to reject everything European. Then you're able to look at everything from an objective standpoint and say, you know what? That's some cracker shit. I don't want to be involved in that. Or that's not African. I don't want to be involved in that. But today we're going to deal with the narcissism and the Peter Pan syndrome that Europeans deal with. Now, since Europeans essentially run the society, every illness and sickness that they have, unfortunately, we are too infected with, right? We must understand that, right? It's basically like you can use the flu or coronavirus. If we are all living under one household, right? And one person in the house gets sick, depending on how strong our immune system is. Now remember, our immune system is our culture. Your culture is your immune system. When you understand your culture, you won't get sick from this virus. You know what I'm saying? Or at least not 100% sick. So our culture is our immune system. I want y'all to remember that with the analogy that I'm about to use. So being the fact that Europeans run the house, meaning they run the world that we live in, unfortunately, we get infected and affected by their sickness, by their way of thinking, okay? And Europeans essentially are a narcissistic people. They have narcissistic personalities. Now, what does narcissism mean? There's different type of narcissistics. There's narcissistics who believe that the world should revolve around them. You should be happy to be in contact with them. They are the shit. There's no one like them on the planet. Like, what are you talking about? But the root of narcissism is actually insecurity, right? That narcissism is an inflated ego, right? That's based off of insecurity. Kanye West, before he went crazy, said the people highest up have the lowest self-esteem. Now, what does he mean by that? He means that people with narcissistic behaviors rally themselves around materialistic things, whether it be clothes, whether it be cars, whether it be their body that they can shape the way it is, right? Because they need those things to make them feel good about themselves. They need those things to boost their narcissistic personality, right? Europeans are narcissistic. And since Europeans run the house, meaning they run the world that we live in, we get infected, and affected by their narcissistic personalities, right? And again, you have to understand their culture to understand who you are as an African. So you can be able to reject everything about their culture promptly, okay? So going into this, when we look at Europeans, I guess you could say, formal way of dining. This is the first thing we're going to touch in about. This is the first thing we're going to touch on about their narcissistic behavior, right? You go have dinner with them, right? They have rules how to eat. They have rules how to conduct yourself at the table, right? Everything is ultra important. You have your, I can't see that. You have your salad fork. You have your fish. You have your dinner. Like they have so many rules. You have your water glass. You have your wine glass. You have your bread. You have your bread knife. You have your bread plate. You have your dessert. They have so many rules to just simply dining, right? That's a narcissistic personality. Look at me. Look at how we make eating into a lesson. Eating has to be a lesson. Eating has to be ultra important. They have different course meals. They go back and forth. It's too much, right? African culture, on the other hand, is very simplistic. Very, very simplistic. Wash your hands. Make sure you get the germs out. We're going to make some food. Put it in front of each other. And we all going to eat with our hands. We all going to eat with our hands. Our hands are clean. We all going to sit around and eat with our hands. Europeans, no elbows on the table. Make sure you sit with your back upright. Pass the bread to the left, not to the right. Everything is narcissistic. Everything is ego driven. It has to be enhanced. Instead of simply us sitting around, making sure our hands are clean, having a conversation, eating some fufu, or eating whatever we're eating with our hands. That is simplicity. That is the simple, basic necessities of life. But being the fact that Europeans are animalistic, they have to boost their level of humanity. They have to make the way that they live more humane than anyone else. That's narcissistic. Oh, the way that I live is better than the way you live. Oh, we have different knives and different forks and different spoons and different wines. We have this. Look, you can smell that's too much. That's narcissistic. Oh, you guys are so primitive. You guys eat with your hands? No. You have to be at dinner at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock on the dot, and you have to sit with your back up, and your elbows must be like this, and this is just it's too much. Narcissistic behavior, right? And then we think that's culture. We take that and that's culture. They're cultural people. Oh man, they have a great culture. Look, they have different spoons for everything. Different spoons, different forks. Before I fucking eat, I gotta memorize goddamn a whole bunch of forks and cups and glasses before I even get a goddamn drink of water. It's ridiculous. It's self-importance. It's a self-importance mentality that's straight bullshit. But they tell you that's culture. That they have the culture, right? When you look at European clothing, now, and I'm showing you how they have to enhance their human, or what they perceive to be their human characteristics, because again, they know where their genetics come from. They know that they are not human. So what they do is they degrade African and other cultures and say, we're more human than you because look, I got a 3-piece suit. I have a handkerchief right here. It's always going to be on the left side, right? My tie has to be square to 360 degrees going down, right? My watch has to always be on my left hand. My ring has to be here. Just everything is over the top. And like I said, there's different narcissistic people, right? But we're dealing with the ego-driven, insecure narcissistic. The one who feels that certain things make them above other people. Okay? When you look at their culture, that's exactly what it is. Everything about their culture is over the top, right? You look at African culture. Look at the men. Dang it, it's blocking. Okay, look at the men. Very simplistic. Dashiki. Your pants, shirt, you fresh, you clean, ready to go. Nothing's tight on your body. It's very loose. It's very simplistic. African culture is very simplistic in the sense where it gives you what you need. It doesn't give you extra. European culture, this is why in the West or Western civilizations, they're so wasteful. They're so wasteful. You know how much food? They said that, I think in the 2018, they said that the food that Americans waste can literally end world hunger. It's a fact. The food that Americans waste can literally end world hunger. It's ridiculous, right? But this is their culture. Very wasteful, very boastful. We need more than we need. We need more than we need. And if you don't have abundance of stuff, then you're below me. That's narcissistic. All right, let me check my time, make sure I ain't going over. Okay, we 10 minutes in. All right, and I appreciate y'all staying with me, rocking with me. We getting there. I'm warming up right now. We getting there. Okay, so again, looking at European culture, right? Look at what they call a gown, right? Everything is over the top. Whoa, look at me. I'm flashy. I'm boastful. Very over the top. Very narcissistic, right? African women, very simplistic. You got your hair wrapped. You got your dress. It's very, non-loose fitting. It's beautiful. It has its colors. It has its simplicity in its own, right? But with them, everything is extra. With us, everything is very simplistic. You only use the fabric that you need. You don't make extras. You don't make You don't make a waste of stuff, because we understand that everything comes from nature, right? This is their personality. This is who they are. I can't see the thing because I'm in the way. I used to be able to move this, right? So when you look at certain forms of narcissism, right? I can't even read the thing because I'm in the way. Hopefully y'all can see it. Can y'all see the writing in the back? Hopefully y'all can see the writing in the back. But anyway, okay, so I'll just read what I can see. All right, so okay, symptoms include excessive, don't know what that word is because it's being blocked, something, admiration, disregard for others, and I guess that word is feelings, right? Inability to handle any criticism. So that's plain Europeans right there, right? When we talk about racism, when we talk about the things that affect us as a people, what are they? Oh, you guys are just complaining. Oh, you guys are no sympathy at all. No care for what we go through. Oh, if you guys just would have put your hands up, you wouldn't have got killed. Just a total disregard for our feelings, right? And I guess this right here is excessive need for admiration. That's probably the in wording right there. So again, like I said, narcissistic, excessive need for admiration. They need to be, look at me, see me, admire me. My way of life is the best life. Look how we live. Look how we eat dinner. Look how we put on our beautiful, elegant gowns. You don't have that. We have that. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Europeans are the most insecure people on the planet because they know historically where they come from, who they are, and so they have to be over the top with their narcissistic behavior. Okay? Again, like I said, look at our culture, our traditional African culture, very simplistic. We eat with our hands, we wash our hands, we sit down, we have some jollof, we express, we love each other, and we keep it moving. With them, over the top. Over the top. Fork knife, salad knife, steak knife, this knife, that knife, water bowl, this bowl. Like, goddamn, can I just eat? Can I literally just eat? I'm hungry. Like, I've been out all day. I just need to eat. The way we dress, same thing, right? Very, very narcissistic. Now, this narcissistic behavior also creates, in the context, what I call, or what psychiatrists call, and as you can see, there we go again. This is their etiquette, right? Their whole type of etiquette. But this type of behavior, this type of way of thinking, and being the fact that we live in the same house as them, we live in the same house. We must always remember that we live in the same house as Europeans. This type of thinking creates what is called the Peter Pan effect, right? And so essentially what the Peter Pan effect is basically you want to live as a perpetual child. You want to never grow up. You want to never get old. And when you look at European culture, that's what their culture is about. Living as a perpetual child. Now, being the fact that we live in their society, we are also affected under the system of racism by this perpetual thinking of always wanting to be a child. Okay, this is what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talks about in her book, The ISIS Paper, which the brother actually turned into a movie later on, which is called Baby Boy. Right? Play you a clip from that, and then I'm gonna go into my portion.
There's this psychiatrist, a lady named Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She has a theory about the black man in America. She says that because of the system of racism, the black man in this country has been made to think of himself as a baby, a not yet fully formed being who has not realized his full potential. To support her claim, she offers the following. First off, what does a black man call his woman? Mama. Secondly, what does a black man call his closest acquaintances? His boys. And finally, what does a black man call his place of residence? The crib.
And so we know that movie that was produced, directed by John Singleton, was inspired by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing after he read the ISIS Papers. Now, again, being the fact that we live in a Eurocentric society, basically they are the head of the household, and then we are also within that household, right? So Europeans, being the fact that they were the last people on the planet, the last group of whatever you want to call them, I don't know what the hell you want to call them, to be created, right? That's why we call them Johnny come lately, because they only been on the planet for 20 years, and their behavior is a representation of that, right? As you can see, ancient cultures, like African cultures, don't behave the way Europeans. That's why we can't understand their behaviors, right? Let me give you an example. My daughter, she always runs around my place and she's like, "Daddy, look at this." And I'm like, "Man, I've been living here for so long. I know this is here." I'm like, "Oh, okay, baby, that's good. Oh, you found that? Okay, baby, yes, I got you. Oh, wow." I'm giving her the, "Oh, wow." You know what I'm saying? Because I've been here. I know where everything's at. Africans, we've been on this planet. There's no need for us to run around hoarding resources and making everybody, it's kind of like the little kid that when he gets upset, he says, "Give me my ball. You can't play. If you don't want to be like me, if you don't want to act like me, if you have a difference of opinion, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home." That's how Europeans act. That's a real childish mentality. "Oh, you don't like this? No, that's not right. You can't play with me." But instead of the ball being the go-to thing, they use resources, right? They use resources. "Oh, you don't like what I said? You don't like this? You don't like that? You're gonna lose your job." So they basically turn everyone in the world into freaking children, depending on them, because they are children, right? So I use the analogy of the basketball, of the child taking the basketball and going home. But that's everything for them. That's their resources. They're very, very childlike because they literally just came out of the caves. Literally just came out of the caves. And you can see that in their narcissistic behavior, in the way they want people to bow to them. When you challenge their academia, when you talk about, "Well, that's not, correct because blah, blah. Oh, you're hateful. Oh, you're this, you're that." That's childish behavior. And again, since we live in their society, unfortunately, we have become childlike as well in our behavior. This is why our relationships have problems. This is why we can't get along, because we have become childlike. When you look at their culture as far as how they represent love, Cupid is always represented as a baby. usually a baby in diapers, right? That's very childlike. Why is your representation of love, male and female, right? Because they also have a huge level of homosexuality and pedophilia in their culture. But why is a baby your representation of love, of what it means to be in love, right? That doesn't exist in our culture because we don't have that. We're not about that, okay? When you look at how they develop themselves, European waxing. What is European waxing? Now we're dealing with the Peter Pan complex now. What is European waxing? European waxing is a woman shaving her vagina and under her arms and etc., etc. Now, why is it that we have a culture, or they have a culture, that says, I want to take away the signifying, identifying asset of what makes you a woman? Because we know puberty, right, goes into you becoming of age. When you start going through puberty, when you start getting hair down there, hair on your arms, that means you're more likely to get pregnant. This is your body. This is what the creator has given to you to show, okay, your body is going through a change. You begin to produce more hormones. But Europeans say, nope, strip that hair away. I don't like it. It looks ugly. It makes me feel like I'm getting old. I want little girl vagina. I want my vagina to look like a little girl's all the time. I don't want it to look old. I don't want it to look like it got hair on it. Give me a little shaved vagina. This is what Europeans literally have cultivated us to believe is cute. They have cultivated us to believe that women should shave their vaginas when we know that there are health issues that go along with that, right? Hair keeps out bacteria, right? And so we know when our women shave their vagina areas and it sweats, it's easier for the bacteria, because a lot of us don't wear cotton panties because we want to wear silk panties, and we want to wear lace panties because we listen to the cracker all the time. But we're not wearing cotton panties so the vaginas can breathe, and then you have bacteria formulating down there because you want to wear tight jeans, because you don't know African women not supposed to wear tight clothes, right? But you want to be like the European woman. You want to put on the tightest clothes you can get, and it's your JJ ain't getting no air. And then when you open that thing up, it's like a bomb went off down there. And that's no disrespect, but I'm just keeping it real. We gotta get out of their ways. And so hair is designed to keep out things. This is why as you get older, you get more hair in your ear. You get more hair in your nose, because as you get older, your immune system gets weaker. And so the hair being created in these areas are designed to keep you from getting sick as you get older. Okay? But again, because we deal with the European, what the first thing we say is, man, this look ugly, man. I gotta cut this, man. Oh no, I gotta cut this. And then we get ear infections. We get sick all the time. That's why coronavirus is going around, because we want to clip our nose hairs and be like them. Okay? So again, dealing with the European context, we're dealing with Peter Pan syndrome. They have this narcissistic idea of never getting old, right? This is what they're about, never getting old. So you see them having these plastic surgeries, pulling their face back, going through all type of measures to distort themselves, right? So they won't look old, right? This is them. This is what they do. They go through breast augmentation to have their boobies lifted up. I don't want my titties to sag. Oh no, my titties can't sag. Oh no, that's gonna show that I'm getting old. I need them to sit up like a little teenage girl. This is the type of shit that they say. The women and the men. I need your breasts to sit up like a little teenage girl. Why? In the African culture, we don't mind if the women's breasts sag. That shows a level of maturity. That shows that she's giving birth. That shows that gravity is working. But when you live in this Peter Pan illusion of never getting old, of never becoming an elder, you are going to live delusional. And again, dealing with the fact that white people run the society, they run the house, we are often affected by their sickness. So you would see our people engaging in this level of narcissistic sickness. Okay? This wanting to have plastic surgery, wanting to be lighter, wanting to have augmentations to our face. This is sick. This is a sick mentality. This is why when you see women with these bodies that are constructed, you have to look at it for what it is. This person is not living in reality. This person is living in an illusion. They have Peter Pan syndrome. They don't want to get old. They don't want to go through this. This is sick. This is disgusting. Do you see? Do you see her butt? And this is not to ridicule. This is not to make fun of. This is to literally incite, to bring insight to what's going on to our people. Her butt literally looks like a cushion. But if you live in the European paradigm, if you live in the European world, if you let them in your head, you will never accept who and what you are. You will live with the idea that my breasts aren't big enough. They have to be perky. They got to sit up like a little girl's breast. I got to shave my vagina to make it look like a little girl's vagina. You get where I'm going with this? You get where I'm going? Not only will you be infected with that type of personality, you will also, because we live in a system of, oh damn, I didn't know it was so late. Because we also live in that system of Peter Pan syndrome and baby boy syndrome, you will also see black men, not all, have a love for white men. Not only a love for white men, but a fear for white men. If you look at most rappers, they model themselves after a specific gangster. You got people like Beanie Siegel. You don't know who Beanie Siegel was? Beanie Siegel was I think he was a Jewish mobster. You got people like Scarface, right? Not the Scarface, not the Tony Montana Scarface, the Scarface from the 1900s, right? Not the Scarface in the 80s. You got rappers, and I got love for Scarface in Texas. But you notice these rappers, they name themselves Irv Gotti. Who did he name himself after? He named himself after John Gotti, right? Biggie Smalls used to go by the nickname Frank White, right? So a lot of these rappers, right? Capone and Noriega, they look up to white people. They look up to this whiteness because we live in a system of baby boy syndrome, Peter Pan syndrome, and all that other bullshit. We model. And then here's the thing about it. The people that they name themselves after usually are the most racist fucking people. They're usually the people who drop the drugs in our community, the people who turn our women into prostitutes, the people who did the most disgusting things to black people. These rappers, right? So this is why they can rap the way that they rap, is because they're modeling, they're idolizing people who don't give a fuck about the black community anyway. 90% of hip-hop music is talking shit to their fans. Nigga, I got more money than you. I can fuck your bitch. Nigga, you can't do what I do. You ain't got these clothes. Nigga, you broke. Nigga, you got to go to work. Fuck you niggas. You hating on me because I got money. 90% of hip-hop music is literally dissing their fans. But we think that shit is cool. So, getting back on point, if you model your identity after a race of people who hate your race, then it is only proper for you to also hate your race. Look at these men. If you idolizing Al Capone, if you idolizing Luchi Luciano, if you idolizing Bugsy Siegel, if you're idolizing Scarface and all these other gangsters, Billy the Kid and you know, you can just go on and on, right? If you're idolizing them and they hate black people, then of course your music should reflect your hate for black people. That's common sense. You see how you as a real African, you should dislike them. Fuck Irv Gotti. Excuse me, not Irv Gotti, John Gotti. Excuse me, not Irv Gotti, John Gotti. You should dislike them. Man, what? How do you watch these Italian movies and then want to name yourself after them? When you see the damage and the degradation that they have done to our people, how do you see it in yourself that you want to name yourself after them? It's ridiculous, right? But this is what, this system does to us. So getting back to the Peter Pan syndrome, where you never want to get old. You always want to be young. You always want to live in this fantasy world, right? And this happens in relationships too. This 100% happens in relationships too, where you have men who are dependent on our women, right? Okay. Again, delusion. I don't want to accept the fact that I'm getting gray hair. I want to somehow put dye in my hair and make it seem like I'm never getting old. I want to have a facelift. This is what they have created. And here's one of the things that Dr. Amos Wilson has taught us. He says, if you want to understand the problem, don't look at who suffers from the problem, but look at who benefits from the problem. So when we look at the idea of us never wanting to, our women's breast sagging, or our women having big butts, and our women not wanting to get gray hair, that's an industry. That's an industry. People are making money off the fact that you don't want to have your hair be naturally turning gray. That you are so Europeanized that you don't want to see gray hairs. People are making money off that. People are making money off the fact that you feel your breasts aren't big enough. People are making money off the fact that you believe that your vagina should be shaved. This is an industry. So they create the self-hatred so then they can turn around and make money off of it. But a true African identity, a true African way of seeing life is accepting your old age, is accepting you coming into a mature state. That's a true identity. That's a true African identity. That's why when I hear black women say, I don't tell my age. Why not? I could see why white women may not want to tell their age, but African women should never be ashamed of how old they are. But that's that Peter Pan syndrome that we suffer from. I don't want you to see how old I am. Oh, hell no. You can't know how old I am. In African culture, we accept getting old. That means the gray hair on your head shows that you have a level of experience, that you've been through something. Now you become an elder. You become someone that the community looks up to. You become someone that people can ask for advice. They look at you like, oh, that's the elder. I have a problem. This person lived on this planet 72 years, 80 something years. Let me go talk to this person. They may know. That's what African culture is about. But if you're living in a European culture, you niggas never gonna get old. You're gonna be 40 years old, still walking around your parents saying, bruh, this nigga tried me, dog. Yo, you 40 years old. And you still thinking like that? That's where your mentality is at? Muhammad Ali has a very great quote. He says, if a man is 50 and he thinks the same way he does when he was 20, this man has now lost 30 years of his life. Let me repeat that again. If a man is 50 and he still thinks as if he is 20 years old, this man has lost 30 years of his life. That means your way of thinking hasn't changed in 30 fucking years. You might as well have been in jail. You might as well have been a slave. African culture is about elevation. African culture is about when the child comes into existence, we nurture that child. We love that child. We help that child grow. That child becomes a part of the community. It gives back to the community. That child becomes an adolescent, becomes an adult, and then that child becomes an elder. And as that child begins to go back into infant stage, we support that child. We love that child or that elder. And then that child dies, and then we give that child back to the earth. That's African culture. We don't get rid of our elders. We don't get rid of our youth. European culture is when you become useless at a certain age. Oh man, you get on my nerve, grandma. I'm sending your ass to a goddamn home. Get out of here. You talking too much. You got dementia. I can't deal with you. You know, you wearing a diaper now. Like, you gotta go. I gotta throw your ass away. Cause you know, you're not a benefit to society anymore. That's European culture. You're not a benefit to a society anymore. Get the hell out of here. We don't need you no more. I don't give a fuck if you was 100 years old and you seen the Holocaust and you lived through this and you lived through that. You are now non-useless to this European society. In African culture, you don't ever become useless. You don't ever become useless. Your wisdom is for the youth. The fact that elders, like when you go to Haiti or certain Caribbean places, or even in the deep South, you know what I'm saying, where work isn't like the predominant thing, right? Because if you want to see African culture in America, you got to go to the deep South. You got to go to the Gullah Geechee people. You got to go to the people in Alabama. Like, those are real African people. They might not call themselves African, but when you go to Mississippi, Alabama, people who never left those states, who've been there for five generations, listen, they understand African culture. They may not know that they're African culture, but they understand African culture. You will go and you see the black folk sitting on the porch watching the kids play. Because guess what? The elders don't become useless in the society. Even if all they doing is watching kids play. Most people, when I was growing up, my grandma and the grandparents would pick the kids up from school and take the kids home and sit them at the table and make them some porridge and say, now make sure you do your homework now, baby. Make sure you do your homework. While your mom was out doing what they was doing. You go to Haiti, you see older people, Jamaica, older people, they watching the children. They have a place in society, but we don't understand that. Because we live in this Eurocentric society, we think, oh shit, now you're a burden. Now you're not moving fast enough. Now you're not doing this. I got to get rid of you. Because that's what European society, European culture is all about. Using people. African culture is about appreciating people, understanding people, helping people grow. We must understand that you are once a man, twice a baby. Meaning that, and Africans understand this, meaning that when you are born, you need people's help to survive, to live, to grow. You go through a stage from your 20s and your 40s and your 50s, your 60s, where you're on your own, you're doing whatever you do. At some point, you go back to infant stage. You begin to lose your hair. You begin to lose your vision. You may not be able to speak anymore. You can't eat by yourself. You may even need a diaper. It literally takes you back from where you started back down to the beginning. So the saying goes, excuse me, I need some water. The saying goes, once a man, twice a baby. Meaning that how you came into this world is how you will leave this world. How you come into this world is how you will leave the world. You gonna be bald headed. You're not gonna be able to see good because babies can't see good to a certain age. You're not gonna be able to hear good. You might not be able to speak anymore. You might need a diaper. But when you understand it from an African viewpoint, you understand that you are sending that person back to be recreated again. All right, so let me speed through that. All right, so we dealt with their narcissistic behavior. We're dealing with the Peter Pan complex that they have us involved in, and how we're so psychologically sick from this whole Peter Pan complex. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. So, all right. Now, being the fact, again, that we live in a Eurocentric society, and this society is based on keeping us as perpetual children, keeping us as children, even though our age goes forth, right? You would see that our men, specifically our men, and our women as well, but our men are constantly revolving their lives around games, around wasting time, whether it be video games, whether it be basketball games, any form of games, right? The childlike mentality, the childlike way of thinking. I seen two brothers in Walmart the other day, and these brothers, I thought they were about to fight. I was like, oh shit, man, I can't let these dudes fight. Let me go over here and try get in the middle of it. or whatever, make sure these dudes don't fight, man, because we don't need to be fighting. So I walk up on the dudes and they hey, man, my nigga dog. So when I get closer, I hear them talking about basketball. I was like, y'all was that loud in Walmart, that passionate? Why? It's like y'all was about to fight and y'all was simply talking about basketball? Can we be passionate about other things? Basketball? This like literally, I'm not even joking. I literally thought these dudes were about to fight, how loud they were and how physical they were with each other. And they were just talking about basketball. Simply talking about basketball, right? So the European has orchestrated us to be like this. Because if we're constantly thinking childlike, if we're constantly being childlike, and we're not being adults, and we're not producing anything, right? Because John Henry Clark, one thing he says is that the only thing Africans globally, the only thing that Africans produce is sweat. That's it. That's the only thing we produce. We depend on everybody else to take care of our needs, like a baby. We depend on white people for our groceries. We depend on white people for our food. We depend on white people for our education. We depend on them for everything. Our health care, just everything. That is a childlike mentality. And since we live in a childlike mentality, the only thing we try to do is make our parents laugh. And that's why we use the term white mommy and daddy. Because we live in a society where our whole biggest thing is, let's make our these movies, let me say this. These movies aren't for us. A lot of times we think because the actors are black that the movies are for black people. No, these movies are not for us. These movies are to make white mommy and daddy laugh. These movies, because white people are the biggest watchers of these movies. Don't get it fucked up. Let me say that. Do not get it fucked up and think white people are not the biggest supporters of these movies. They are. They are. White people love some Madea. White people love some black men putting on dress, black men acting stupid, black men being gangsters. They love it. They love it. They are the biggest supporters of these movies. I remember one time a white lady from New Orleans came to me and she was like, Eller. I was like, what? She was like, Eller. I was like, what the fuck is that? Literally, that's why I said, what the fuck is that? She's like, oh, I'm sorry. She's like, oh, someone doesn't watch Madea. I was like, nah. The fuck? I don't watch that stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they watch these movies because these movies reinforce, right, what they think about us, what they believe about us. These movies are reinforcements to say, I knew niggas was like that. I knew it. I knew it. The same way back in the days, our people were minstrel shows. We would go out there and tap dance and act stupid in front of white folk. I don't know, boss. I don't know. White people would be out there dying laughing at that shit. Why? Because it reinforced how they already felt about us from the beginning. It reinforced what they already thought about us. And so with that reinforcement, they're able to justify how they treat us. Oh, we gotta treat you niggas like kids. Because you are kids. Look how you act. Look how Madea act. Look at Nutty Professor. We gotta treat you like kids. We have to be in control. Because if we weren't in control, you niggas... Okay, I'll give you an example. Look at Obama. Now, we know Obama's not black. Obama is mixed. But what were white people saying when Obama was going to become president? Oh my gosh, they're going to fucking end the world. The world is going to end. A nigger is in charge. Everything is going to be upside down. My fucking gosh. They're gonna let people out of prison. Like, they were just saying the most craziest, stupidest shit. Right? Because that's what they really think. And these movies reinforce what they really think. This is why they produce the movies, to be honest with you. Or they fund the movies, to be honest with you, and they go watch it. Right? They were saying the most asinine shit. They truly believe that if black people were to become in a position of power, that the world will end. Because they understand that essentially they have turned us into fucking babies. They have turned us into children. You get what I'm saying? They really have. They're like, we can't let you niggas get in power. Because y'all gonna end the world. Because we know how we trained y'all to be. We know how we brainwashed y'all. We know how we turned y'all into perpetual children. Well, all y'all do is play and laugh and joke. Y'all don't get shit done. Y'all not serious. Y'all not serious about nothing. Even your black movements aren't even serious. Okay? But to wrap this up right quick, because I'm running out of time. So, just to wrap up everything that I said, you know, African culture is about simplicity, right? We eat with our hands. We make sure our hands are clean, right? We gather, we eat. That's simplistic. Europeans, they got a whole bunch of forks, spoons, cups, plates, glass, just to fucking sit down and eat. By the time you eat, you a skeleton. You so goddamn hungry, your face sunk in. Because you gotta learn all the goddamn forks and spoons and napkins and shit. It's ridiculous. It's too much. It's narcissistic. It's crazy. Doesn't make any sense. But to them it makes sense because they have to justify their level of humanity, right? Their clothing, 3-piece suit, you know, tie, vest. It be hot as shit outside. It's ridiculous. My watch gotta be on my left. My ring has to be here. I have to have a pendant right here, scarf right there. Just they take it overboard, right? African culture, very simplistic. Very simple. Simple, simple, simple. We ain't doing too much. That's it. We in and out. In the workplace, we talk about this a lot. Keep calm. Send me an email. In African culture, we understand that your word is your word. We don't have to have documentation. This is why in African ancient culture, there isn't much literary work. Now, there's works where you can go into like Egypt and you see writings on the wall and things like that, or wherever the case may place. But we're talking about like literary work, like work, like how, and this is why we know the Bible isn't real. This is how we know the Bible isn't real. But that's a whole video for another time. I don't have time to talk about that right now. But Europeans' literary work is time structured, right? Everything about their work is time structured. This happened this time, this happened that time, blah, 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 blah. Time structure, right? Our work was passed on to each other verbally, right? Through our, like literally, we would sit under the mouths and the feet of the Jele, right? Which is the storyteller. And he would literally tell everybody in the village their ancestral lineal. You are the child of such and such. And your parents come from the Mende tribe. And you come down from this lineage. You are the grandparent of Akunta. Akunta comes from here and blah, blah, blah. And then there will be children who have to be raised to practice this level of Jele. Being a Jele. A storyteller. A rememberer. Right? So our history was passed down verbally. Europeans was like, we gotta write this shit down. Number one, because we can't remember shit, because we stupid. Like, we come out of the caves, so we don't remember shit at all. So let's write it down. But the point I'm trying to make is saying this, because I'm running out of time, is that African culture is very simplistic. What you say is your word. Your word is bond. When you say it, it is what it is. Right? When Europeans say it, they have to get it in writing. Because they know that they're liars. They know that they're not good remember. They don't remember easily. Right? So write it down. Send me an email. So guess what? When I say that this happened, I can say, that's not what you said in the email. I got the email right here. I got the email. But African culture is not like that. Right? And again, we are never going to function in a whole in their society because their society doesn't fit who we are as a people. It's not. Again, this is why I always say, if you look at some of the black celebrities who are high up there and wherever they're at in the white world, you notice they always going crazy. They always having a level of a mental breakdown. You know, they're always having a level of mental breakdown. Kanye West, Kid Cudi, you know what I'm saying? John Legend at one point. Like, you would notice they always would have these mental breakdowns because they're trying to fit their square in a European circle, and it's not going to work. The higher you go up to them and you try to assimilate to their society, the more psychologically sick you're going to become. The more psychologically sick you are going to become. And this goes back to what I said in the beginning of this video. In order for you to be African, you must understand European culture and then begin to reject everything European. If not, you're going to be a fake cultural African. You're going to be a fake historical African. You're going to be a fake clothing African, a unk wearing African. You're going to be just a fake ass African. And we got a lot of fake ass Africans out here who running around here talking about, I'm African, I'm pro-black, and I'm this and that. And then you fake as hell. And even on the continent and even in the Caribbean, we got a lot of fake Africans running around here. It's a return of the fake Africans because they haven't studied European culture. They haven't studied European history. Therefore, they have not yet killed the cracker inside of them. And if you don't kill the cracker inside of you, how are you going to function as an African? How are you going to function as an African? You're not. You're going to function as a representation of what it means to be African, a representation of what it means to have an African culture, but you're not going to be African in no way, shape, or form. And we must understand that. So I thank y'all. I appreciate y'all for joining me on this live. This was the second breakdown of the information I had. I'm going to go ahead and end this live right quick. I truly appreciate everybody that came up. I'm gonna end it just so I can save it and upload it to my YouTube, and then also upload it to Instagram before they cut me off. I may come back in 2 minutes. I might come back in 2 minutes just so I can save this and people can ask questions, or if people want to come on and ask questions. If not, then we can go on. So I'm gonna come back in like 2 minutes. I'm gonna save this. And I'm going to come back in 2 minutes. And if you want to ask questions, if you want to build, if you want to, chime in a little bit, I got about 30 minutes I could spare. We could do that. If not, then I'll just go ahead and end it for the night. But I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all. Until next time. Remember, I'm coming back in 2 minutes. But until next time, think black, stay black, love black, support black. And that's real African black power.